Donald Trump is making headlines again, and this time, he's aiming straight at Canada. His latest push for aggressive trade policies is sending shockwaves through North America, threatening to dismantle one of the most critical economic partnerships in the world. For decades, the US and Canada have been inseparable trading partners. Cars, steel, aluminum, these industries have flowed smoothly across the border, fueling both economies. In 2023 alone, trade between the two nations hit nearly $900 billion, with Canada shipping around $350 billion worth of goods to the US, including the majority of its vehicles. But now, tensions are rising fast. Many Canadians are asking, are we even allies anymore? Some officials are even pushing for a radical shift, moving away from US dependence and strengthening economic ties with Europe instead. And here's where things get explosive. Trump has threatened a 100% tariff on Canadian-made vehicles and metals. That's not just a trade dispute. It's an economic earthquake. The U.S. buys over 2 million Canadian-built cars every year, not to mention the steel and aluminum that American industries rely on, from skyscraper construction to beer cans. If this happens, Canada's economy could take a major hit, but they're not backing down. In fact, they're getting ready to fire back. A top Canadian lawmaker has made it crystal clear. If Trump slaps tariffs on us, we'll hit back hard. One of the biggest targets? Tesla. Why Tesla? Well, Canada isn't just reacting blindly. This is a strategic move. Tesla is America's crown jewel of innovation, a $1 trillion company, a leader in the EV revolution, and one of Trump's biggest corporate allies. But here's the twist. Tesla actually needs Canada more than most people realize. The company heavily depends on Canada for critical materials like lithium and nickel, two of the most important resources in EV battery production. Without them, Tesla's battery supply chain could be thrown into chaos. Even Elon Musk himself has recognized this, once calling Canada a game changer for Tesla's operations. But now, that advantage could turn into a massive liability. A senior Canadian official laid out the country's position. If Trump taxes our cars, we'll stop selling Tesla the materials it needs for batteries. Maybe we sell them to Europe instead, or China. And this isn't just political posturing. Canada is one of the world's top producers of nickel, lithium, and cobalt, the lifeblood of electric vehicles. If Tesla loses access to these resources, it could be forced to look elsewhere, driving up costs and creating major production delays. Can Canada really ditch the US for Europe? On the surface, moving away from the US sounds like a massive gamble. The US isn't just Canada's largest trading partner, it's also its most convenient. The two countries share the longest undefended border in the world, making trade fast and cost-effective. Take auto manufacturing, for example. A car part made in Ontario can be in Detroit in just a few hours. That's why nearly 75% of Canada's exports, worth around $450 billion a year, go straight to the US. Swapping that out for Europe? That's a logistical nightmare. Shipping from Canada to Europe is slow and expensive. A container from Halifax to Rotterdam takes 2 weeks, far longer than a simple truck delivery to Michigan. Plus, it costs thousands of dollars more per shipment. And then there's competition. Europe already has major auto giants. They don't exactly need an influx of Canadian vehicles when their own manufacturers dominate the market. But that doesn't mean Canada is out of options. In 2017, Canada signed a massive trade deal with the European Union, the Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement CETA. Since then, Canadian exports to Europe have skyrocketed by 30%. In 2024 alone, trade between Canada and the EU hit $60 billion. Unlike the US, which is shifting towards protectionism and tariffs, Europe is an open, stable market with 450 million consumers. That's a tempting alternative for Canada. And the message from Canadian officials is clear. We're not stuck. If Trump wants a trade war, we have a plan B. European leaders are already watching the situation closely. Some see Canada's trade strategy as a perfect response to Trump's aggressive policies. Take steel, for example. Since Canada's trade agreement with Europe went into effect, over 1 million tons of Canadian steel has flowed into the EU. And it's just the beginning. In fact, Europe is actively looking for new trade partners. They're investing heavily in green steel projects, which require high-quality raw materials, and Canada's rich mineral resources are exactly what they need. But while Europe offers new opportunities, it won't be an easy switch. Even so, Canada isn't panicking, because at the end of the day, its biggest bargaining chip isn't cars or steel, it's minerals. Europe's EV industry is desperate for lithium, nickel, and cobalt, all essential for making electric car batteries. And guess who has some of the world's biggest reserves of these minerals? Canada. The James Bay region in Quebec is home to one of the richest deposits of lithium, nickel, and cobalt in the world, key materials that power electric vehicle EV batteries. These minerals are critical for Tesla and the entire EV industry, as they determine everything from battery performance to overall vehicle range. Canada has been positioning itself as a global leader in battery mineral production, with billions of dollars in new mining projects underway. With tariff-free access to the European market through the Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement (CETA), Canada has a strong alternative to U.S. dependence. In recent years, Europe has been aggressively seeking new stable suppliers for critical minerals, especially after supply chain disruptions caused by geopolitical tensions with China. If Canada chooses to redirect its resources to Europe, American automakers, including Tesla, could be left scrambling for alternatives. A top trade expert in Ottawa put it bluntly, "We're not abandoning the U.S., but we want them to know we have options. Europe is our safety net." And this is precisely why Tesla is caught in the crossfire. For years, Canada has played a dual role in Tesla's business, both as a supplier of essential minerals and a buyer of its electric vehicles. A 100% tariff on Canadian-built cars would throw this relationship into chaos. Take Tesla's Canadian market. If these tariffs go into effect, the cost of a Model Y in Canada could instantly double, rising from $50,000 to $100,000. That's a death sentence for Tesla's presence in Canada. With nearly 100,000 Tesla vehicles sold in Canada to date, a sudden price hike could shut down sales entirely. But the bigger problem lies in Tesla's supply chain. The company's gigafactory in Nevada and production lines in Michigan rely on a steady flow of nickel and lithium from Canada. If those materials get rerouted to Germany or France instead, Tesla could be left scrambling for new suppliers, forcing them to turn to Indonesia or China, both of which come with higher costs and geopolitical risks. That could mean months of production delays, not just for Tesla, but for the entire U.S. EV industry. With Trump's proposed tariffs looming, the big question is, will Tesla push back against its own government to protect its Canadian supply chain?